Hello Leo, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we'll be looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section will be looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you're a cross-watcher, just know that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Leo, we're going to jump on in. We're going to start with looking at overall energy for your side of the connection, their side, and the truth in between the connection with oracle cards first, and then we will dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. But first, Leo, let's start with your energy toward the person you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. You have contract with quality time. I feel like I need one more here. Robotic. But then underlying that robotic is this euphoria card. Okay. In the beginning of this connection, there was something that was really exciting, and the word that comes to mind is explosive about this connection. I feel like you and this person met and it was just kind of this immediate spark, immediate connection, almost as if you had known this person before. And it's interesting, like have known this person like your whole life in a way. It's like you got to know the more you spent time with them, it was just like almost as if you couldn't really remember a time in your life where you didn't know them. But I feel as things kind of progressed in this connection, there's something about this that shifted, something about your energy toward it that shifted. And it went from feeling, passionate, explosive, exciting to something that felt or feels disconnected, something that you're craving more from, or maybe craving to get back to how things were at the very beginning. This contract card to me is something a little bit deeper than anything on the surface. Now, this could be like things changing after marriage or things changing after, some sort of commitment, but I don't necessarily think it's just that. I feel like this is also like some sort of soul contract thing, almost as if you and this person agreed to meet in this lifetime to learn certain lessons from each other. So I feel like there is a lot to kind of unpack about this connection and what is really coming through. I want to keep this contract card on top because I feel like there's something about this that is needing to be addressed. Okay, this person's energy toward you, Leo. And when I say disconnected, I don't necessarily mean like separation. I just feel like it's this energy of, wanting things to go back to how they were, or, feeling kind of that disconnection. This person's energy toward you. Whoa. Okay. Growth. Dead end. But then there's also this euphoria card on the bottom here. I want to get one more. Like, it's almost as if this person's growth was stunted. Like, that's what I'm kind of gathering from that. And then mirroring, interesting, with deja vu. this connection has been very challenging for this person, not in a negative way, but I do feel like it has pushed this person into growth. And all relationships do. All, healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships, reflect back to each other certain things about yourself, things about your traumas, your triggers. They, bring you into uncomfortable feelings. And the healthy versus unhealthy aspect, like whether a connection is healthy versus toxic, unhealthy, depends on each individual's capacity and almost like tool belt for handling those things, for handling, traumas, handling triggers, handling arguments, handling communication. And it's almost as if this connection on your side here, there's a very expansive energy. There's this energy of, wanting to grow, wanting to understand, wanting to evolve. And with this person, it's something that, like, the desire for the connection is there, but it feels like the way that they're handling, traumas and triggers and things that come up in this connection is they're shutting down. So it's a very, like, constricted energy here, which has put this connection in a really difficult place where it's almost like it's at, there's potential, but it's reached a certain capacity based on where this person is at in their journey, like in their healing and their growth. It doesn't mean that there's, that potential can't be reached, but it does definitely mean that there is some reflection that needs to be done to bring, more growth, honesty, vulnerability to the table. And that's the whole point in connections. Connections are here to teach us to grow, all of them. Every person that we meet is a spiritual assignment for us, as long as we're willing to look at it that way. Truth of this connection between Leo and this person. Romance. Money versus love. Interesting. I feel like in the beginning of this connection, the romance, the passion, like I said, the excitement, that explosion energy was very strong, right? And it almost feels as if things progress in the connection, have progressed in the connection. It's become less of that explosive, exciting energy and more of, mundane, which is very natural in all connections. You leave the honeymoon phase, you're kind of, in this place where you're left with the connection itself, and how both people handle that part of the connection determines whether or not a connection is going to be able to evolve, to grow, to sustain or not, right? And it feels like there's something in this, because I don't see this money versus love card as like literally, also, if you guys, my stomach is growling so bad right now. I am very hungry, but I'm going to do this reading first and then I'm going to go eat lunch. There's, I don't see this as like choosing money versus choosing, love. I see this as, surface level versus depth. And it feels like this connection has this potential for a lot of depth. It's like the surface level things are good, but the depth is lacking. The emotional availability or the emotional depth or, the deeper commitment, even if it's like you're in a marriage, the deeper commitment to the connection, to the relationship, that's what really I feel like is lacking. And I feel like what you're really missing from this person. And I feel like they might be really good at like the surface level stuff. Like they might bring you flowers or they might, do like those things. But when you're like, I just want to have a conversation or I want to, go below the surface or I want to talk about, where we're going or things of that nature, it feels like this person really shuts down. So wanting more depth, wanting more, connection in this, I think is a place where you're really at here, Leo, which is normal and natural. And I think that, it's important to absolutely honor your desires and what it is that, you're looking for. All right, overall theme of this reading between Leo and this person. You know what this energy is kind of reminding me of? Is like this like, it's like if I could label it, it's like a past life connection almost. Like a past life, soulmate kind of thing where, the attraction and the recognition of the connection was instant. But then as you're, on this journey, as you're evolving, as you're growing, you're feeling, I need one more here. That was too many cards. I just wanted one more. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Some people never change, is the card that you have. So you have I am their light, except for all it is worth, and some people never change. I feel like one of the things that, is coming through really strongly is that in the beginning of this connection, the feelings were so strong and so intense. But as things have kind of leveled out, it feels like what you're really left with is this desire for more. And I know that I've repeated that, but I feel like it's really important because I think sometimes we start to question, like, am I just being ungrateful, or am I asking for too much? And absolutely not. Like, you deserve to feel, loved, valued, chosen, committed to. You deserve the same level of effort that you do give. You have this I am their light card, which I feel like there's this part of you that really wants to, help push this person to grow into growth, help them evolve, help them step into their full potential. But in the meantime, it's kind of left you feeling, just in a place where, to be honest with you, I feel like you're unhappy with where the connection is at. Like you are wanting more out of it. All right, let's look at this person's energy, or your energy toward this person. Contract with quality time. Leo's side of this connection, please. Six of Wands. Oh, okay. Six of Wands with the Devil. The Temperance in reverse. The Temperance card in reverse. I said the Temperance once and someone was like, it's actually just the Temperance. It's actually just Temperance. It's not the Temperance. And it's like, it's the Temperance card. Because I say like the Eight of Swords, right? Leo side. The Hangman in reverse. Oh, okay. And this, oh, okay, Sun in reverse. Okay, yeah. You're in what I've kind of labeled as the hope disappointment cycle. That is very common in relationships where we, things in the beginning are really excited and there's so much potential, and then as things kind of shift, we get into the cycle of hoping for things to go back to the where they were in the beginning, hoping for change, hoping for things to feel, good again, to feel secure, to feel, exciting, happy, romantic, whatever. But then, we get our hopes up about the other person changing, and then we get disappointed when they continuously show up as the person that that they are at this time. This Devil card is this indication that there's something about this connection that triggers certain habits and behaviors in you too. And I think that a lot of times, like, we start to, blame ourselves for our reaction to certain people's behavior, but it makes a lot of sense, I feel like, why you are feeling a lot of frustration here, because you have the Temperance in reverse. There is a lot of frustration here. And I feel like you, in some way, almost feel like this person pretended to be someone that they're not, because they showed you, one version of them, and now they're kind of showing up as a different version of them. I feel like it's hard because now you're in this place of feeling a little bit trapped where you're not sure, like, which version of them to believe. And I do feel like you still get glimpses of it. With this Ace of Cups, I feel like sometimes those feelings that you once felt, or those experiences that you had with this person, they do very much shine through every now and then. But I feel like ultimately you're in this place where you're wanting things to be different. You're wanting things to be better. And, you have your hopes in a certain place for things to be better, but then you're constantly in this position of feeling trapped in the experience that you're in, where it's like, I want to be happier and I know that I can be, yet I'm in a position where I don't feel loved, supported, chosen, valued, shown up for, things of that nature. And I think that it's hard because of course you're holding on really tightly to this. I think that you see so much love and so much beauty in this connection. And of course, anybody would want to fight for that, right? So I certainly don't blame you for that. But I also do feel that you're in this position where it's like you're torn, because that potential's there, but yet you're sitting in the energy that you are. And to be honest, I don't think that you are very happy with where things are at. The Sun in reverse is a pretty big indicator of that. But I can understand why you feel a little bit torn about this, because it's not that you're necessarily torn about, how you feel about this person. I feel like you're very clear on that. I do feel like there's a lot of love and a lot of care here. I feel like what you're torn about is whether or not you, this is in alignment with what you deserve, or whether or not things can ever get to that place that you want it to be. So this is definitely complicated, and I feel like it's putting you in a difficult position for sure. You definitely deserve all of the love you have to give, Leo. There's no doubt about that. But we also have to make sure that, how do I say that? We have to make sure that we're allowing ourselves the space to be loved. Right? People can only meet us where they're at. They can only meet us at the depth in which they've met themselves. And when we crave more depth, because what it feels like here is that you've done a lot of work, maybe, a lot of healing, a lot of self-reflection. And I feel like you can recognize the ways in which you're needing to show up better. And I feel like you're trying, but you just feel like you're not being met with that same effort. So it essentially feels like you're kind of in this position of really carrying the burden of this connection. Not that the connection is a burden, but the heaviness of the connection, the weight of it, the effort, all of it, like it is on you. Because connections are work, right? They do take work, and it takes two people willing to do the work in order for it to be healthy. Otherwise, you have one person fighting and trying and, asking and doing all that they can to make it work, and one person that's kind of in this position of, not doing so much. And I'm not saying this person's doing nothing, but I just feel like with this dead end growth card here, there's something. So let's look at this person's energy. Right out of the gate, you have the Queen of Wands. Here's the Nine of Pentacles. I actually feel like that's one card here. Nine of Pentacles, Queen of Wands. Interesting. This Emperor in reverse feels important too, but I'm going to wait to see if it comes out. Eight of Swords again, which you had here. Judgment in reverse. Ooh, okay. This person carries a pretty stubborn energy here. There it is, the Five of Swords. Oop. Two of Wands in reverse and Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Interesting. This person is very difficult to read. Like, I mean, I can see their energy, but I can also see how it like comes off, and how, if you're just trying to like make sense of their behavior, how it could be really confusing for you. Because there is, right out of the gate, you had the Queen of Wands with this Nine of Pentacles. So the way that this person, views you is as something that they've always desired. Like, I do feel like you very much align with what it is that they are looking for. They very much want you in their life. And I think that there's a part of them that is actually kind of, and this sounds a little cheesy, but kind of afraid of how much they want you in their life in a certain way. It's almost like there's a level, and that makes sense. I saw the mirroring. It's almost like their connection to you pushes them to a level of vulnerability that they're not quite comfortable with. And I think that that's where the shutting down energy starts to come from. This person struggles with the Judgment in reverse. I don't, when I say honesty, I don't mean being honest with you. I'm not saying this person struggles with like honesty in the sense of like they're lying to you or anything like that. I do feel like they struggle with being honest with themselves, which typically means, struggling with self-reflection, getting honest about, their own flaws, their own, need to do better. I feel like this person struggles with that a little bit. And almost is a little bit in this defensive place of, and this is what I said that they're, or what I meant when I said that they're kind of in a stubborn energy, is they're kind of in this place of like, oh, this is just how I am. This is just who I am. Like, you should just love me or take me as I am, which I do believe we should love and accept people for who they are, but that doesn't mean that we accept, limited capacities, right? It doesn't mean that we accept bare minimum effort or breadcrumbing or a lack of, commitment. And that's what I feel like this person ultimately struggles with, is this lack of commitment. They struggle to commit to what it is that, because that's what commitment is, right? A marriage is a marriage, a contract is a contract. But a commitment at the end of the day is saying, I'm going to hold up my end of things, right? Meaning that I am going to do what it takes, not just to stay in this relationship, but to show up for it so that the relationship can thrive. And I feel like that's something that they really struggle with. It feels like they have this tendency to really run from that reflection and from that honesty. And I will say, like, I can certainly relate. I used to be somebody that I used to think I was self-aware. But I actually wasn't very self-aware, because it's almost like I used my self-awareness as an excuse for my behavior. Being self-aware and being able to be held accountable for the ways that you need to do better without taking it personally is like the sweet spot of creating a healthy relationship, where, a person, your partner, or a person that you're dealing with, a friend or whatever, can come to you and say, hey, I have these problems, or I feel this way. And you're able to be open and honest with them. And then they're able to be like, okay, I don't mean to do those things, but let me reflect on how I can do better. That right there, that's the key that a lot of healthy relationships, or that a lot of unhealthy relationships miss, is, when you're dealing with somebody that struggles with that self-reflection, or that already inherently feels unworthy or undeserving, as soon as you come to them with something like, oh, I'm having this issue, or I feel this way, they're immediately going to take it personally, and they're going to filter it through the lens of, I am not good enough. I am not good enough. Leo doesn't think I'm good enough. This means that, this relationship's going to end. How do I defend myself? And that right there is a sign of emotional immaturity, and also a lack of self-reflection and a willingness to grow. And that's where we have to get clear on what it is that we deserve, because we deserve to be open and honest about our own feelings and how we feel and what we need in a relationship. It's not our job to monitor how somebody takes those experiences, right? How somebody handles those, but it is our job to make sure that we are speaking our truth and being honest about what we need. It's also our job to make sure that we are, we can have empathy for other people's experiences without because unconditional love and unconditional empathy does not equal unconditional tolerance. We can have empathy and understanding for where somebody is at in their life. That doesn't mean we tolerate certain behavior, right? We have to make sure we're setting our boundaries. We have to make sure we're speaking our truth and being honest about what we need. And yes, this person, they have feelings for you, and they desire this connection. They, if it's romantic, they have romantic feelings. If it's a different type of relationship, they do desire this connection in their life. But the thing is, Leo, you deserve more than just being desired, okay? You deserve to be shown up for. You deserve to be chosen and valued in a way that's not just through words, but through actions. And you deserve to ask for those things. And I think that that's really important for somebody to hear in this reading. That goes for both sides, right? We have to be open to hearing where other people are at, but we also have to understand that the only thing we have control over is asking for our needs to be met and the boundaries that we set in accordance with that. I think that this person has the desire to love you, but a lack of the ability to love you well based on where they're at right now. That doesn't mean that can't change. But I do feel like there's a need for you to make sure that you are not taking on the role of trying to change this person, because that's going to leave you feeling really empty and ultimately abandoning your needs and your desires in pursuit of the connection and making the connection work. I've always said that finding the relationship, and I said this once I got married and I understood this, but finding the relationship that you deserve isn't about finding the perfect person. It's not about finding the person that just meets all of your needs, okay? Because that person does not exist. Nobody is perfect. It's about finding the person that's willing. The person that's willing to take accountability, that's willing to change behavior, that's willing to apologize. But it's also about being the person that's willing to. We have to be the person that's willing to take accountability, to be open and honest, to apologize, to listen without judgment, and things of that nature. And if we're doing our part, we have to understand that we can try to do our part all day long, but if we're dealing with somebody who isn't open to doing the work or open to changing their approach, and they're not doing their part, there's something imbalanced there and something needs to be addressed. So I feel like there's definitely something about this connection where this connection is teaching you both a lot. I do definitely feel like you and this person met for a reason, and I feel like it has to do with, maybe this cycle that exists between you two. But we're going to hop on over to the extended You Have Money versus Love with Romance. I'm going to dive deeper into this, looking at the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Thank you so much, Leo, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Leo.